Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about components of the story while continuing our discussion of what it is being a journalist, what it means to be a journalist in this day and age. So, we've already talked about the 5 W's and the H: who, what, where, when, why, and how. And you've probably done an assignment in which you separated the answers to these questions and put together a very simple lead to a story. So if you have something like the takeoff of a hot air balloon and you're a reporter writing a story about this, you need to tell your audience when it happened, how many people are aboard the balloon, and what's the itinerary, where it's going. So the basic components of reporting, the basic characteristics of good reporting, are accuracy, brevity, and clarity. When you work on your assignments and when you do your writing assignments in the future, I would be asking you to cut any word that does not carry meaning. Something like then, something like I don't know, however, words that don't mean anything. For example, some people write, will that being a Wednesday? It doesn't mean anything. Being, you don't need the day being Wednesday. It doesn't add to the value of your information. So cut every word that you can cut and leave the words that carry meaning. That is your brevity. Clarity is when you express your ideas directly without twisting them around, without adding extra color or extra, unnecessary description, extra adjectives. Accuracy is when you confirm all the information, and if you're very precise in your writing, what exactly, a woman was stopped on the New York thruway. Why was she stopped? Was she speeding? Was she drunk? Was her car broken? What was the reason why she was stopped? Be accurate. Put all the information in the story and also verify the information. If you hear something from one source, make sure to check it with other sources and verify for accuracy. Use proper attribution. In the example that I just discussed, says who? Who says that a woman was stopped, arrested, perhaps, on the thruway? Well, it's coming from the police. A police spokesperson. It's easier just to say New York State Police, say, or traffic police. So to tell a complete story, you not only need to be accurate, but also clear and full. All the information needs to be there. For that, you cut out all the unnecessary words and just leave the words that carry meaning. Be balanced and fair, obviously. Be objective. Do not put your opinion in the story. Be brief and focused, and write well. Clear, direct, interesting. So accuracy means that you're very careful with facts and details. Joseph Pulitzer had a cardinal rule for his writers, his staff: accuracy, 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 meaning he couldn't emphasize it enough. Check and double check and triple check. Ask as many times as necessary to confirm absolutely, with absolute certainty, that the facts you're reporting on, the numbers, the dates, don't miss a zero. A zero can mean a lot of things. A zero can increase the value of a number 10 times. And finally, use good language, precise language. If you need to hold your story to check the facts, hold. Don't be in a rush. Don't rush to beat the other news organizations. I'd rather be second and accurate than the first and wrong. So where do we get the information as journalists? How do we gather our information? if we get our information from someone who saw the event happen firsthand. If we were there, actually, that's direct observation. Secondhand, if someone else, a participant or a witness, saw it. And third, if someone talked to a participant. And usually a third-hand account is coming from a newspaper or a radio story that you follow up on, and then you create your own contact with the same people. Say you read somebody's name in a newspaper and then you want to follow up on that story, write your own, find their number, call them up, and that person becomes your source. But first-hand accounts is when you are on the scene and you're observing. It happens very rarely. Usually when it's severe weather or some other, launch of a rocket, you're there on the scene, you know it, or you have enough time to get there. Attribution means mentioning the source of the news, source of the information. So according to police, according to the Detroit News, the New York Times reports, I'm not going to read you the story, the example that I put here in the PowerPoints. But how do we attribute? If somebody agrees to be on the record, you give the full name and title. Suni Onionta, President, Barbara Jean Morris, Communication and Media Professor, Guyana Torosan, etc., etc. If someone is in the background but has an official job with the entity from where you're getting the information, it would be background attribution. A White House official claims, a White House official says, or deep background. You can write on your own and you don't mention the person. Off the record, when there is a source and the source desires to remain unmentioned, so that way you don't publicize the name, but it always creates a suspicion that the source is fake and made up. When we hear sources say, it just sounds like fiction. Sometimes news organizations can create their own data, their own information. They can run opinion polls, and then they will say a Des Moines Register newspaper, public opinion poll shows, etc., etc. So when you're using second and third hand sources, be extra careful, because that is where you can slip and convey inaccurate information. That way you will be doing more harm than good. So verification, Mark Twain joked about an event that is very easy to verify, but he said that if we were to move very carefully with a known story, we would say a woman giving the name of Mrs. James Jones, who's reported to be one of the society leaders in the city, is said to have given what purported to be a party yesterday to a number of alleged ladies. The hostess claimed to be the wife of a reputed attorney. So every word of this lead is in the shadow of doubt. It's unverified, and he's jokingly using the terms reported, is said, purported to be, alleged ladies, claims to be. So that is funny because it's exaggerated. Fairness means lacking bias. Fairness includes completeness. Fairness includes relevance. Fairness means honesty, keeping things in context, not taking things out of context. No story is fair when it uses bad words. No story is fair if innocent people get hurt. Balance is extremely important during political campaigns, and there used to be a balance clause in the regulations of media, but now we just feel that if every side of a story has access to channels of information, then balance will be maintained. So usually there are more than two sides, of course. We can't say this and that, we say all sides, and trying to include all kinds of voices, all parties involved is a good thing, it's a good habit. So here we come to the conclusion of objectivity, that journalists need to be objective, they cannot take sides, and they cannot put their opinions in the story. Therefore, we don't use adjectives that are our own observations. So during the McCarthy period, journalists were frustrated that officials were lying, but they couldn't catch them in lying because objectivity is something that can be allegedly maintained by referring to he said and she said, instead of doing just the simple he said, she said. Edward R. Murrow encourages journalists to do more in-depth reporting and look into the deeper context. So other journalistic values include personal involvement when it's warranted. Let's say you're helping an injured civilian, then you can drop your journalistic assignment and go with the civilian to make sure that the person survives. You can forget your job and just be a human being. There's an example here from Ron Martz. So we said be brief, be selective, be clear, use human interest, localize the story, bring it home, and report responsibly. So we will talk a little more about all these aspects of journalism and the components of the story. But our next topic, real quick, will be interviewing, and I am going to talk about that in our next presentation. Thank you.